that is working without a marketing plan, please sit down. You have no business plan, or worse, your plan is out of date. Sit down. You have no vision for where you want your business to be in 1 year and in 5 years. Please sit down. I just want to remind you, it's not about who's standing now, it's about who's standing tomorrow. And the fact that you're here tonight bodes well that you might be here a year from now. The statistics on small businesses of any kind are abysmal. We're up against a really steep learning curve, and it keeps coming at us. I thought by now things would have settled down, we'd been in a little routine, we'd have figured some things out. But everything keeps changing, everything keeps moving. You need help. You can't do this by yourselves. And we're here tonight to open the door a little bit and show you what's possible if you consider your team to be a little bit broader than just you and the people on your LLC and on your license. I'm going to move on to the three... Oh gosh, I got to multitask.
What you doing?
No. I think I can do it. There we go. Oh, so we'll do a little shout out for the future classes. So this is tonight. This is Management 101, MBA Basics. We're covering a lot of things and sort of introducing the concept of what are you responsible for as a small business owner. In April, we're going to focus on your finances. What are the things you're responsible for as a small business owner? We're going to diversify that a little bit, talk about accounting, taxes, bookkeeping, lots of the legal ramifications of you not taking care of those things, including some little surprises like LLC law in Washington State changed on January 1st, 2016. Every single operating agreement in Washington State must be revised. How about that? Number two, the issue is that another little surprising thing is that everyone is probably, well, most people are probably non-compliant on the fact that if you are on a 502 license, it's essential that you have estate documents. Does anybody even know what estate documents are? Your will, your living will, power of attorney, those sorts of things. Because right now, you could default to your license holder position being left to a child. And that would basically cut anyone in your estate out of inheriting any benefit from the business if you do not have a will that will supersede the default provisions of Washington state law. These are two little things that are huge risk factors for you that we can help you sort through. I'm sure my esteemed colleagues have some insights in their fields as well that are risk factors that we need to eliminate in your business to help stabilize you and start planning for a more profitable and reliable future. The June event is going to talk about dispute resolution and employee management and employee related complications and issues. We're going to expand on what we did in October. We touched on some of those issues with Belle and I. We're going to go a little different angle on it this time around. Smart investing, choosing a partner, profit sharing, all those complications. Again, as time unfolds, we'll get a little more crystallized on exactly what issues are relevant. Again, things are changing. We want to stay responsive to the marketplace and your needs and your risk factors and the feedback I'm getting about experiences you're having. And then the last one, of course, is sort of a catch-all on the advertising, marketing, sales, understanding the difference between marketing and sales, how you need to execute, how can you execute in this regulated market. And leaving the door open for additional topics. Right. Dave already did a quick explanation and introduction, but I want to go a little bit deeper. Each of our panelists is going to tell you a little bit about their business and introduce why it's critical. I mean, we all, mandatory insurance, we get that. CPAs, we have tax filing deadlines, we get that. But let's talk a little bit about how a legitimate professional in this arena is going to know enough about your business to identify things that you're not asking about that they know could be detrimental to you. I recently inherited a client from another attorney, and when we called their office to ask for their operating agreement, we were told, well, they never asked for one. I find it abominable that an attorney would expect a client to walk in and say, hey, I need an operating agreement. That is not your job as a client. It is our job to help you understand what you need and educate you on how that works and how that functions and how, by eliminating some of those risk factors, your business will benefit in the long run. $5,000 to $10,000 in attorney's fees will save you thousands in litigation and help you sleep better at night. And Danny's now going to talk about how she can help you understand where your risks and liabilities are with taxes and bookkeeping and accounting and all the wonderful world of finance.
So the challenge is making sure everybody sees what my name is Danny Espenda. I'm with Act Resources, PLLC. That's a little different. We have a new logo, so for those of you who met me before. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I also see some new faces in the crowd as well. So I'm a CPA. I've been a licensed CPA in the state of Washington for almost 16 years. Boy, how time flies. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the compliance end as a business owner. There's lots of filing deadlines, so let's get started. So, congratulations, you got your license, you've opened your business. Now what do you do? So, my slides are very full. I wanted to make sure that you guys had a good takeaway, so I put lots of information. They're very wordy, but I will go over them, and if I ever gloss over something and somebody has any questions, either raise your hand now or come see me after the presentation. I'd be happy to clarify anything for you. So I have a lot to cover, so I'm going to go kind of quickly, but just give me a whoop whoop or raise your hand if you have a question. So thank you. So should I hire a professional to help run my business? My example here is, should your master gardener be doing your payroll? What do you guys think? No? No? How about we call up Ann and we have her come trim your plant?
I've done that.
So, my recommendation is seek out the people that are good at what they do, and you do what you're good at, and let everybody do their own thing. So, I have just a couple of few words of advice here, and then I'll get into the compliance part of it. The other thing that I think is really helpful for new business owners is learn how to use your traceability system and audit it regularly. I'm not a plug for the traceability systems in any particular one, but it's really important to audit them. You're going to need to get some information out of them that will be helpful for you for your tax filing, so make sure that you keep an eye on the information that's going in and also watch the information coming out. So set up an accounting system. It was a little scary when Ann mentioned that 25% of people don't have an accounting system. This horrifies me. 75%. Okay, the 25% does. We have a couple of different kinds of clients. We'll have the clients that'll just fly by the seat of their pants and come in and with their shoebox and just say, I don't know what to do. Just sort it all out. And for us to sort something like that takes hours and hours and hours. You're going to have a really high bill. You don't want to be paying me $200 an hour to open your envelopes. I can't tell you how many times I'm like opening people's mail. Really? So the best way to do it is to seek the guidance of your tax professional. If that's a CPA or an accountant or a bookkeeper, call that up before you get started. Have a quick meeting, have a conference call. They'll set you on the right path and get you started on the right foot, because what's worse is to just wing it and have your mother, sisters, brothers, aunts, nephew do your books, and they're 10. And you get the books and they are a complete mess. And you're thinking, okay, it's going to take me, 25 hours to unwind this mess that you've done. before I can even do your tax return. And that can equate to a very high bill. So most small businesses use QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. Probably 99.9% of my businesses use that software. It's a great way to keep track of your income and expenses and other things as well. It can be a little scary because the wrong person using QuickBooks horrifies me too. So, but that goes back to, you know, meet up with your tax professional, have them help you get set up with a chart of accounts, kind of show you where things go, what buckets they go in. Then we have a less of a mess later on. Keep it up to date. That's really important. Again, I tell you, those clients that come in, they haven't done anything for the year, you know, it's March 1st, and we have a partnership or an S-Corp return that we have to file, and we have months and months and months worth of accounting to do to get them started. So keep it up to date, do it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, at a minimum monthly, and take a look at the data periodically. How many people do their books and never look at the reports? I mean, how many people have QuickBooks? Okay, leave your hands up, leave your hands up. How many of you have looked at your P&L statement? How many people have looked at their balance sheet? Not bad. What about any of the detail in there? No? No? I'm kind of impressed right now. That's good. Look at your data. There's information in there to help you make decisions about your business. It's really important information. Yes, it may be historical, but you can learn from the past if you've made mistakes. So another point, I'm going to move on, is keep excellent records. These are very, very important. Electronic records are okay. You can keep paper if you like. Oops, I'm moving on and I'm not ready. So these records are important that you keep to support items of income, deductions, credits, until the statute of limitations runs out. Okay, that varies a little bit. If your business is conducted with cash, keep a cash log and document the activity included in your accounting records.
Is it okay to throw away the receipts once you put them in electronic format?
That's okay. If you have them captured electronically, that is okay. I wouldn't necessarily throw them away, I might shred them.
Well, yes.
Yeah. As long as you have a copy, you have a digital copy, and that's okay. Were there any other questions? Oh, yes.
Digital copy meaning it's a line item on a bank statement or a picture of the receipt?
A picture of the receipt. Right. Not just an entry in a book or some typed description, or even a line item on your bank statement. It's hard to say, you know, okay, it was purchased at Lowe's, but what was it? Was it a pipe or was it a candy bar?
Comment on the question. If you go fully electronic and you take a digital have a backup first line.
Thank you. Yeah, very important. Those digital copies, things happen. It's important to back up all your data for your business, not just your receipts. Backups are extremely important. Thank you for that. Okay, we already covered the cash. The IRS recommends that you keep records from 3 to 7 years, depending on certain situations. I didn't list them all out here. I only have 10 minutes, and I can only keep you guys awake for so long. If the records are connected to property, it's important that you keep them until the statute of limitations runs out from when you sell the property. So it's keeping records digitally, very helpful, or those files continue to grow. Some records must be kept longer for non-tax purposes. Insurance companies and creditors have certain requirements, so it's important before you start just throwing things in the shredder that you understand what you should and shouldn't keep. Okay, so when do I file and what do I file? So the marijuana excise tax, which is basically reported by retailers only now, is filed with the Liquor and Cannabis Board. You can file and pay through your traceability system electronically. This is due by the 20th of the following month. Washington state taxes, we have a combined excise tax return, which is B&O and sales tax. I keep seeing hands go up, I didn't know if there was questions. This is due by the 25th of the following month if you are a monthly filer, and most marijuana companies are. You file and pay this online at the Department of Revenue or dor.wa.gov. File and pay taxes. You'll set up an account and you'll log into this account when you want to file your return. It's super easy. You put a couple numbers in, look at the return, and then you can finalize it, file and pay all online. It just takes a couple of minutes. Okay, looks like I skipped ahead again. Okay, local and city taxes. There are filing requirements for some cities and local jurisdictions, so it's important that you check with your city to find out if they have a local city tax and you have a tax filing requirement. Payroll taxes. So this is a lot of fun. So should I hire a payroll service like ADP, Paychex, Zen Payroll to do my payroll, or should I do it in-house? So payroll is a full-time job. How many people love doing payroll? Yeah. Okay. This guy should love doing payroll. And just a quick plug, I've seen Matthew's work and he does great work. So if you decide that doing payroll full-time is not your thing, give your local ADP or Paychex rep a call, call your CPA or accountant, see if they have any recommendations.
Paychex does not take 502.
They will if they don't have cannabis in their name. So if
they kept digging until they found the word.
I have some clients that use it, and some clients have been bounced from it. So we're doing some payroll, which is, a lot of fun. Well, just to help our clients, they had no other choice, and they couldn't do it in house.
How do you lower payroll taxes?
I vote. I don't know. That's the question of the day right there.
That's concern.
Yeah. So should you choose to do payroll in-house, you have a lot of deadlines that you have to adhere to. You have payroll tax deposits, and they're due semi-monthly, monthly, quarterly, depending on the amounts. To check what your filing requirements are for payroll tax deposits, there's an IRS publication 15. Very boring read, but there's the web address where you can find it. But these payroll tax deposits are paid via EFTPS, that's electronically filed tax payment system. You have to get set up on it, and you can pay online or by telephone using the system. And you have to have a bank account. Yeah, although you can file and take cash payments, the IRS doesn't allow that. So these are due by the end of the month following the end of the quarter. So these are quarterly filing requirements. They're due April 30th, July 31st, October 31st, and January 31st. Big days for us accountants. Yeah. So we have Irs Form 941. This is the employer's quarterly federal tax return. This is basically what you file to report your FICA, Medicare, withholding, all that good stuff. It's generated in QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online, but if you want to find the actual form itself and try filling it out by hand, I wish you a lot of luck with that. But you can find the forms at irs.gov/forms, and then you can search for your form number. Washington State Employment Security Department has a filing requirement. It's called the Quarterly Tax and Wage Report. Summary, and you can find it at esd.wa.gov, and you file and pay it online. You set up an account, you log in quarterly, you report your gross payroll, your hours, etc. File and pay online. L&I, same thing. We have a quarterly report. It's at www.lni.wa.gov, and you file and pay online. You create an account that way. These reports are not paid through QuickBooks. Are there any questions? I see some hands every now and then. Then we have IRS Form 940. This is the employer's annual federal unemployment, or FUTA, tax return. This is generated in QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online, but it can also be found at irs.gov/forms. You must deposit via EFTPS online or by telephone earlier than annually if you have a liability more than $500. And then we have an annual federal income tax return. I think a lot of people know about these. So if you file a Form 1065, 1120, 1120S, these are due by March 15th. Get it to your accountant as soon as possible. The extended due date for these returns is September 15th. If you are an individual and you are a single member LLC, you'll file a form on your Form 1040 to report your activity. As you can elect out of filing some of those other forms if you choose to. And those are due by April 15th, but this year it's April 18th because of holidays. I will not be getting that day off. All right, so this year it's due April 18th because of some holidays. The extended due date is October 15th, but the tax is due to be paid and must be paid by April 15th to avoid penalties. So you can extend the time to file, but you cannot extend the time to pay. I can't tell you how many times I had somebody come into my office and say, oh, I don't have the money to pay. I just want to file an extension. I'm like, you still have to pay. So if you have any questions, that was it. I blitzed right through it. I think everybody is awake and pretty pleased about that. But if you have any questions, give me a call and come up and get a card. Oh, and just to let anybody know, I will be at CannaCon this week. I have a booth, so I'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I will be speaking on Friday afternoon at 11:30 on taxes. Did I? It'll be afternoon for me. I will be up very early that day. Thank you.
We'll get to some more questions, and I want Debbie to come up and share about her expertise and her ability to help us translate a lot of this complex information.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Debbie Page Whitlock, and I am a business coach. I do cash flow efficiency for primarily women's small business. I actually was introduced to the MJBA just over a year ago. The Women's Alliance asked me to come and speak, and so I came and just really fell in love with the organization and was so impressed with the pioneering vision of the people in this industry. So I'm here today to talk to you, and that wasn't quite the slide that I had sent ahead. There it is. There it is. Aww, there I am. I have a 20-year entrepreneurial odyssey that I've been on. I have scaled, acquired, grown, and sold 2 businesses, both in financial services, over my 20-year journey. And I share that with you because I acquired the first business not knowing a gosh darn thing about what I was doing. I was really good in the industry, but I didn't know how to run the business. And fortunately, somebody told me that I needed to surround myself with people who were smarter than me, that knew the intricacies of running my business, so I didn't make a whole bunch of mistakes. And I made plenty, but my recovery time was much better. Over the years, I grew one of those businesses into this hallowed 7-figure mark, which for a woman-owned business is significant. And I was smart enough to know how to get out of it. So I've gone through every stage of business, and I share that with you because I want you to understand, regardless of the industry, running a business is running a business. Whether you're a grower, a processor, a retailer, whether you're a CPA, an insurance broker, an attorney, a coach, a therapist, a healer, a dog walker, business principles apply to all business. Yes, you definitely have some, I'm going to call them unique opportunities, shall we say. And you know, you're valiantly attending events like this to identify ways to navigate that so you can be successful. My concern is this, at this point. You know, in this industry, the cannabis industry, you have come barreling, especially in Washington State, through the startup phase, right? This is the phase where everything is just going and going and going, and you don't know what you don't know. But you're on the way, right? And you're making it happen, and you're figuring it out. And I'll tell you right now, it's the same way in 90% of all other businesses that I coach. People started it because they were passionate, and they had a purpose, and they were excited, and they got going. And then they got down the road, and they went, uh-oh, I don't quite know everything I need to know to sustain this, and then grow it and figure out what's next. You know, Anne was asking, how many of you have a vision 1 year, 5 years from now? And many of you had already sat down by then. And what I know is that it's really difficult to get out of survival mode to then flip into what I consider the visioneering side of things. And that's what I do as a business coach. So I want to share with you real quick the 8 critical and costly errors I'm seeing 502 business owners make. what's taking you from going to growing as a business to potentially gone. And I say this to be a little bit of the buzzkill here at the party, but I've been the unpopular girl most of my life, so I'm not afraid to toe that line right now. And I say this with a great deal of love and compassion. Unless if you take serious hard stock in 2016 about the areas that you need support in, statistically, your business is in jeopardy and you will likely be out of business in the next 24 months. That hurts. It's hard for me to say. I'm telling you right now, my heart is racing just saying it. Again, I'm not the popular girl at the party. And I'm saying that because, look, there's a way through all this. There's a way through it, and it's by getting everybody on your team. It's by getting your attorney. It's by getting your CPA. It's by getting your insurance broker. It's by having your bookkeeper. It's by getting the business coach. And I don't care if it's me, but get somebody. I gave you a thing. I work in the area of cash flow efficiency because I was in financial services for 20 years. I worked primarily with small business owners during that time. I gave you a little Cosmo quiz. Dave and I were talking at the beginning of this about how funny that was. If you grew up in the 80s and you ever had Cosmo magazine, you just sit with your girlfriends, guys. You probably didn't do this so much. But we'd sit with our girlfriends with our banana boat sunscreen and we'd take those Cosmo quizzes, you know. And if you added up the numbers, like you were a total like superstar, and if you didn't quite get there, you had some room to grow. That's what I did for you today. So you guys are the first to get my cash flow quick quiz. And it's just a simple, easy, kind of cheesy sort of thing to do, and yet I want you to look at it. Because each check mark that you give yourself is an opportunity for you to improve your business, and that's all this is meant to be. So here are the primary things that I'm seeing 502 business owners making. Anne alluded to one of them, you're working without a plan. Now, maybe you started your business with a business plan, but you likely by this point have outgrown it. Most people make a business plan, they might look at it for about 6-8 weeks while they're getting going, then they fling it in the bottom drawer of the desk and it gets piled on top with a whole bunch of other things, you know, your receipts, your other records, and all sorts of other things, and you think, maybe I should pull that back out again. The idea in your head isn't enough of a plan anymore. You have to have documented processes and systems on how to scale your business. Second thing I'm seeing that is a huge mistake is that you don't know your operating costs. I had a talk that I gave in this industry a while ago, and I just asked a question. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because I'll just tell you, working in the space of money, there's a lot of shame and guilt and all sorts of other head stuff that comes up with that. But just gut check yourself. If I walked up to you right now and I said, what does it cost you to run your business? How many of you in here would answer that question with something that would end in ish? Right? It's about this ish, right? And you make that face, this ish, right? And you kind of turn, right? And if I say to you, how much revenue do you generate every single month? You would go, well, it's about that ish, right? Because there's some peaks and valleys still. You have got to know your operating costs. You have to know what you need to be bringing in the door every single month to sustain your business. If you don't know that, you're already in peril. You're already in peril. Third thing, getting into debt. Business is business. If you were sitting here as part of the Puget Sound Coaches Association, guess what? I'd be talking to you about the same thing. I'm not singling you out because you're a 502 business. I'm telling you, I've arm wrestled with 502 business owners who have insisted that running your business is different than anything else out there. I mean, we will sit there and we'll arm wrestle back and forth, right? And what I will say to you is this, yes, you have your unique challenges. There are also opportunities. And the fundamental business principles, what people spend years getting an MBA in, are still the same principles that you are going to leverage to create a successful 502 business. Fourth thing, you have inconsistent marketing. Believe it or not, you must have a marketing plan. You must have a marketing strategy. You must have a, not in your head, documented way that you are going to scale and grow your business. Now, whether your intention is to keep your business, because some people say to me, well, Deb, but I want to keep it, so why do I really need to have all that? It's fine, but at some point there may be an opportunity for acquisition. And if you have documented marketing, process, system, everything that you can trace back, this increases the value of your business. If you have a brand, And each of you are a brand. And there's a reputation that goes with that, and there is value. Fourth thing, you cannot stage real revenue and cash flow numbers. I'm going to hit you on the head with that one again. Again, it's the ish principle, right? So you have to know exactly what that is. You have to know how the money flows into your business. How many of you know what are your most profitable days or months and your least profitable days and months? I do work with business owners where we take a look at the P&L. We take a look at I'm the translator. This is what I do. I do not want to do your bookkeeping. I hate the bookkeeping. I have a bookkeeper. I am not a CPA. I do not want to do your taxes. I just happen to be the nerd that can translate all the information that you're given and then show you what to do with it on the other side to create a sustainable business that's going to give you the lifestyle that you want. The next thing is you don't have corporate reserves. And I'm talking about 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year worth of operating money set aside. If you got hit by a bus tonight, that your business could sustain itself and go on, you have to have, that's a sign of a maturing business. You can get along for just so long, kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? But at some point, you got to start, just like you have your emergency cash reserves for your personal accounts, you need to have the same thing for your business accounts. The other thing you're doing, and I heard this a year ago when I met so many people getting to know this industry, is you're playing small because of money. You're trying to convince yourself that you don't have the budget for that. And what I'm going to say to you is, liar, liar, pants on fire. Give me an hour inside your business, and I will find you the money to do what you want to do. You may not like my suggestions, but I know it's there. You think it's expensive to hire Anne? Wait until it turns out that you need to hire her in a reactionary position and see what it costs. You think it's expensive to hire a CPA who's charging a couple $100, $300 an hour to do your taxes? Wait until you get audited. You think it's expensive to have a bookkeeper come in and check everything for you? Wait until the CPA starts opening your mail and can't make heads or tails of the entries that you haven't made in QuickBooks for the last year. You think it's expensive to hire a business coach, a good business coach, to get you a 10x return on what you spend on them in the first year alone? And if they don't, they weren't worth it. We know the way through. It's time to start investing. It's a maturity sign in your business. It's time to start investing and growing. And then the final thing, and this is number 8, this one always kills me, is that you're avoiding. You're avoiding things because you just don't know what to do. And so when we don't know what to do, we pretend it's not there, and we ostrich, right? Put our head back in the sand. Deal with that tomorrow. Mature business says, I don't know what to do, but by God, I'm going to find the people that can help me figure this out. So here's the deal. I don't do a lot of PowerPoint, so I said instead, if you want this, what I put together, my 8 points, you could just send me an email, debbie@debbiewhitlock.com, say I want those 8 errors, because I have it just as a one sheet, you can have it, and I say in there a couple things that you can consider doing. Take this quick quiz and just check yourself. See where you are. I'm going to be sticking around. I will outlast all of you to answer whatever questions that you have. And I know Anne has an opportunity for more later, but thank you, and if I can be a resource for you, please don't hesitate to call. Okay, I want to see you.
All right, I'm just going to do a quick, in the theme of I am walking the walk ahead of you. Today, I was the first cannabis business to hire Debbie.
I'll be the second.
Okay.
Well, I'm used to being the buzzkill in the room. I'm the insurance guy. I kind of appreciate you taking that bullet, but I think I got you beat.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to just kind of blow through a few things from an insurance standpoint for you. Try not to get really delved down too far into the details. There's plenty of different things to go to. I got to tell you, as an insurance guy, there is nothing more exciting than dealing in the cannabis world, because we're recreating the wheel every 90 days. I mean, we have a joke, you know, I joke with folks in this room and those of us that, you know, up here at the table all the time that, you know, we talk about cannabis years like dog years. You know, 1 year in this industry is like 7 in the other because things evolve and change so quickly. And that is not what an insurance model is based on. Insurance is based on an actuarial model, 20-year minimum data, and all this information. And so to be into an industry that keeps recreating itself and evolving and new products and new business operations all the time, I mean, every day I've got to educate myself on my clients' businesses because I got to provide that education to the underwriters who are ultimately writing the policies. And for an insurance guy, that's exciting because it gets me out of the numbers and the actuary tables. You know, what's an accountant on steroids with less personality? It's an actuary. So what I'd like to go ahead and go through here, kind of, which one? There we go. Just kind of touch on basically what are the insurance requirements of cannabis businesses in the state of Washington. Very straightforward, very easy. We'd have $1 million of general liability. We need to have $1 million of product liability. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into arguments with new licensees trying to tell me, oh, no, I don't need product liability. I've already spoke to my plans review person. They're telling me I don't need product liability. The WAC code specifically states the insurance shall cover bodily injury, including disease, illness, death, and property damage arising out of the licensee's premises, operations, and products. The only way you are going to get insurance against illness and personal injury associated with the consumption of your product is product liability. You've got to have product liability. So the other piece that they want is you have to have the Washington State Liquor Control Board, or excuse me, Liquor and Cannabis Board named as an additional insured, and we've got to have primary wording on there, meaning that your insurance policy in the case of a liability claim, be it product or be it a general liability, your insurance policy comes in line before the state's policy comes into line. So right now I'm gonna step on my little soapbox. You'll hear me rattle on this soapbox for the next 12 months because this is critical and this is very topical to the industry today. Product liability. Product liability policies, without trying to get too insurance-ease on you, is what's called claims-made form, meaning that the policy that is in place at the time your claim is made is the policy that pays for a claim. A lot of people in this room, if you're a licensee, very likely are on board or started out with a Lloyd's policy. Lloyd's owns 70% of the market. October 1st of last year, Lloyd's stopped writing policies. They stopped renewing policies this year. So as your policy comes up for renewal, we're having to move those Lloyd's clients to a new carrier. If we do not get a retroactive date on your product liability policy, we just essentially got a do-over. So here's a scenario where this applies to you. You grew product last year. Maybe you even sold product last year to a producer processor or to a retailer. That retailer then sells a product to somebody. What happens? What do we know happens in a product liability claim? Typically, they take place over time. When somebody says, I'm getting sick off a particular product, they're saying, I've been consuming this one brand or this one product for a prolonged period of time. If we renewed your policy the 3rd week of January this year, we moved from Lloyd's to a new carrier, and we did not get a retroactive date on our product liability policy, our new carrier is not on the hook prior to the 3rd week of January this year. You weren't paying them insurance premiums prior to the 3rd week of January this year. Any liability, claims expense, cost to protect you, all of the things that you want your insurance company to protect you from, they're on your dime prior to the 3rd week of January this year without that retroactive date. I can't tell you how critical it is and how important it is that you just keep that one thing in the back of your mind. If you got a Lloyd's policy right now and you're coming around for renewal, you're not one of my clients, you're happy with your guy, I'm not a big high pressure guy, but he better be talking to you, you better be asking him about retroactive dates on your product policy, because otherwise we just got a do-over. You gave the insurance company a free pass, and you could very likely be on the hook for some very expensive claims expense. If somebody alleges, doesn't even have to be a valid complaint, they just got to allege that they got sick off a product they purchased from you, and you're paying an attorney to defend you against that claim. So, what is covered under this right here in this format? What is the state requirements? It covers damages to other people. It does not cover anything that you have. It does not cover anything beyond the damages that could result as a result of your business operations. That's what the requirements cover. And so, again, this last fall, Eastern Washington had 3 different growers call me at different points saying, "Hey Norm, big windstorm happened, lost 3/4 of my fence, I need to go ahead and file a claim." Going, yeah, remember in the spring when we were talking, you said you wanted that bare minimum coverage, we weren't worried about any property, just give you the absolute minimum to cover. I mean, reality is I probably would have told you not to insure the fence, probably would have cost you more than it would have been worth to insure the fence in that case, but liability policies cover damages to others. It does not cover your property.
So I'm really curious because here in Washington, in Oregon, in Colorado, we're hearing a lot about pesticide recall. So let's assume that there is potential liability of patients or others who consume contaminated product. Where does that liability fall? Does that fall to the retailer? Does that fall to the producer?
Well, that's a good question. Typically what's going to happen is they're going to do what's called subrogation and pass it back up the food chain. So in the case where I go to my local retailer and I say, okay, I bought this product from you, you know, most good attorneys who are going after personal injury, they're going to name everybody and their brother that they can try to get their hands on that they can get along the way in that suit. In the way of a retailer, the Washington model is beautiful from a retail standpoint because I argue with underwriters all the time that, look, we're selling pre-packaged goods that are in tamper-resistant packaging that has been tested and labeled. As a retailer, I'm just a distribution point. I just pass it through. You know, if I buy shoes at Payless shoe stores and they're Nike shoes and the stitching's bad and I blow the stitching out and I break my leg, I'm not suing the shoe store, I'm suing Nike. And that essentially is what would happen in that model of a pesticide, is it's going to move back up the food chain as far as they can.
But if you eat at Chipotle and you get sick, you sue the retail chain and not the chicken.
Well, yes, but if that's true, you may sue Chipotle, but if Chipotle has sound business practices and proper insurance in place, they asked for a certificate of insurance from the person that they purchased their tomatoes from, and all of the damages and loss of business that they have, they're now going after that supplier to replace that.
So if I'm a retailer, I need to make sure that all of my vendors have
a certificate of liability would absolutely be prudent from a retail operation. Is that standard practice today? No. Is it prudent? Absolutely. Is it something that I'm actually pressing carriers for to try to get discounts for the retailers? Yes.
Good, thank you.
So what is not covered, just to kind of move through this a little quick, or excuse me, what is covered? Personal injury, we kind of talked about this. Personal injury to general liability, your trip and fall, health-related claims on the product liability. Property damages to others as a result of your business operations. I'm a grow operation. I had a short in my lighting that was installed, may have been installed by a professional electrician. Now the building burns down and the landlord's coming after me trying to look to claim damages. That's going to come out of the liability policy portion. The costs of defense and claims expense. This is another important piece that when you're looking at the insurance policy you're buying, particularly when we start talking health-related claims, folks, I'm telling you, $1 million may not be enough. When you start dealing with health-related claims, we are now bringing in experts. We're bringing in medical experts. We're bringing in pesticide experts, possibly. We're bringing in maybe somebody who's going to talk about the type of extraction that we're doing and how it should have killed this off or X or Y. When you start hiring professional witnesses, your costs of defense go up. Health-related claims, what's the likelihood that only one person is going to allege they got sick off the product? We're probably talking multiple. And that's where $1 million may not be enough, particularly since 2 out of the 3 carriers out there right now, your costs of defense and claims expense are inside of your policy limits. And so that $1 million, when you're paying somebody $60,000 to represent you on the stand if it goes to trial, that gets chewed up pretty darn quick. Those $400 an hour for a staff of multiple attorneys to litigate, that chews into that $1 million pretty darn quick. At the point that we're inside of limits because maybe our business operations require us to look at one of those carriers, probably should be looking at an umbrella policy to protect your business assets, to make sure that we have the financial backing to protect you in the case of a claim. It doesn't have to be the result of anything you did wrong for you to have to defend yourself in a claim. I mean, again, this whole pesticide issue is a great example. If I'm an extract processor or an edible processor, I very easily could have bought hash oil extract of some sort from somebody who bought wholesale from an outdoor producer who used a banned substance. Didn't show up. Maybe I even had a on top of it operation and they tested the product. But when we go through the extraction process, we're concentrating down large chunks of product, and something that may not have shown up before is now concentrated in doses that were unexpected. I bought that product in good faith, not knowing that it was tainted. I want to be able to count on my insurance company to defend me to the hilt to whatever extent is necessary to make sure that my business is still here and still viable tomorrow and moving forward. And that's important. When we deal with health-related claims, claims expense inside of limits, boy, that gets chewed up quick. Just be informed, be aware. That's ultimately what I'm trying to drive home here. What is not covered, and I could also retitle this one here, what should I be concerned about? You know what, the number one thing I'll tell you right now that folks are missing the boat on or opening themselves up to a huge liability exposure, business auto. Business auto. How many producer processors out there are making deliveries in their personal vehicle? If you do not have a business auto policy, you are opening up yourself personally as well as your business to a liability claim. You know, same thing happens also with a routine business errand. On a general liability policy, I can get you fairly inexpensive coverage for what's called non-owned auto. You know, it's one of those things where you're looking at it's between $150 to $500 a year to add non-owned auto coverage. But the value of that on the backside, were we to have a claim, is unbelievably valuable. Last year, Lloyd's of London had 3 claims that they were most concerned about, and they raised their rates. Those 3 claims had nothing to do with them getting out of the market, but they were related to growers and non-owned auto exposure. I got a trim party coming up. I'm getting ready to do a big trim party tonight. I got a bunch of guys coming in. I tell one of my guys, hey, run down to the pizza joint, pick us up about 6 different pizzas. The guy drives down, he blows through a stoplight and wipes out a car with 3 kids in it. Now what happens is the police officer doing his due diligence, the guy says, hey, I was just on my way out to buy pizza. We're doing a trim party for my boss, and I just running down to pick up pizza. I didn't see the stop sign, blew through it, my bad. You now have a business liability exposure, and if we do not have non-owned auto on that, the cost of defending yourself on that, once his probable state minimum, hopefully at a minimum, he has the minimum liability requirements on there, that's $300,000, folks. That's nothing. $300,000, that's all you have to do to meet the state liability requirements, and now your business is on the hook and your assets are on the hook because we were trying to save $150. And I mean, it's insane to me that exposure is out there, and as the business starts to mature, look, it's not my job to try to sell you as much insurance as possible. It's my job to help you get the most for your insurance dollar and help you understand what you're buying, where your coverage is and is not on those policies. So next, your business property. You know, if you're doing tenant improvements to the inside of a building for your extraction business, if you're a retail shop and you put in $120,000 into making this really nice plush Eddie Bauer experience in your retail space, chances are your lease requires you to carry coverage on those tenant improvements. Or let's take a worst case scenario, maybe it doesn't and you don't have that coverage. Now, let's say a completely non-related event, a bolt of lightning hits the building burns to the ground. Your building owner, the landlord, his insurance policy will pay to replace all of his property. It does not pay to replace any of yours. He has no insurable interest in that property and no right to try to collect insurance money on something you own. Until you move out of that structure, it does not become his property. So your tenant improvements, if they are critical to your business operations, if you're a grow operation that's brought in a lot of lighting, you know, there's tenant improvements right there that we probably should be thinking about. The last piece here is the one that I really want to hit on, and this is kind of where I spend a lot of my time, particularly when I'm talking with producer processors who are worrying about continuation. You talk about cash reserves. You know, do I have 3 months? Do I have 6 months? Do I have 9 months worth of operating capital to keep my business afloat? And that's where business income and extra expense of a relocation from an insurance standpoint is critically important. I get growers asking me all the time about crop coverage. And 9 times out of 10, I find myself talking them out of crop coverage and saying, let's look at business income coverage. It gives you a little more broad form of coverage, and it really ensures what you're most concerned about. You know, if I've got an indoor grow operation and my building burns to the ground regardless of whether it's my fault or outside causes, that building burns to the ground. Let's say it doesn't burn to the ground. Let's say it just destroys all of my crop inside and I'm displaced for 6 months. Now I've got to be able to service any debt I have and continue to keep my business alive and viable when it's going to be 6 months before I can get my first clones back in that room. And that might be another 45, 60, 90 days from being back up to full production. Am I prepared to weather that storm for those 6, 9, 12 months? If I've only got 90 days of cash reserves to keep my business operating, boy, I better have at least 90 days worth of business income, extra expense out there to keep my business viable and running, to give me that 90 days of insurance money before I'm tapping into my 90 days of cash reserve that was referenced earlier, at a minimum, let's hope, to be able to start getting that income coming back in so I can service the debt and I'm not just walking away with a huge bill. So, and my job, again, it's not to, I don't sell fear. I don't want to sell fear. That is not what I'm here for, but it's very important that you understand where your exposure is and where you're spending your money on your insurance, and make sure that you're aware that you're getting the most for your dollar and that you are protecting things in a way that is going to ensure sustainability. Because if you're only hitting the state minimum requirements, you're guaranteeing that others will be made whole if your business operations hurt them. That does nothing to protect you. So, yeah.
So you just did my insurance and just give me the bare minimum. Sounds like something that I would say.
Yeah.
Do I have the product liability coverage, Nora?
Yes. Yes, you do have product liability coverage.
Thank you.
You know, the other thing that's out there, part of the value that I bring to the table is I know where the carriers are. I read a lot of these policies. I think the last count I did, I think I have about 140 or so policyholders that are licensees in the cannabis industry. I know these policies ins and outs. Quite honestly, I know the policies better than the underwriters that are writing them in a lot of cases. And I ask for particular endorsements on the policies. You know, Sean, on your policy, we got some employment practice coverage for you so that we're able to get that thrown in. It's just kind of an add-on. We just got to know to ask it. I check an extra box on the application. It doesn't cost you a penny more. But where L&I leaves off, there's a coverage form called stopgap coverage, where you bring an employee in that's helping you on a trim party, or somebody that's helping you tend your crops. We want to have coverage beyond L&I to pick up some of the holes that L&I doesn't pick up, and we got that coverage for free. And that's kind of the value of dealing with somebody who understands the industry. It's not just about price, it's trying to get you the maximum value for the dollars that you're going to have to spend regardless.
We're going to take questions in a minute. Thank you, Norm.
Yeah, I'll swing in Friday.
Norm will be around CanCon. Find him, track him down, ask him some questions. We're going to get to some questions. I just want to, I know we sound like the Happy Fun Club up here. I was going to tell you, but what I do want you to recognize is that everyone here and some other people that I have met that are also professionals that are trying, we are passionate about looking out for your best interest. What I said before in my introduction when I talked about the fact that it's not okay for a professional in their industry to expect you to know what you need from us. It's our job to say, you need this and you need this, and know if you thought about that and what about that. And I wake up in the middle of the night and these people wake up in the middle of the night and they go, oh my gosh, what about that thing? And I just want to point out that I know this is a lot of what sounds like bad news, but the good news is that we have solutions. And they're not as scary or as expensive or as dangerous to tread into as you think. We can work with you on figuring out what your priorities are. I think that Debbie has the big picture overview, what's important, and how do you start thinking. I am going to talk a little bit like they did. I know this is confusing. I'm moderating and I get to talk about my business. But that's what happens when you sponsor things. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about NWMJ law and how we can do the same thing that these people are doing for you in our area of expertise. I will go quickly, and then the plan is I have some hypotheticals that some situations, sorry, long-term hypotheticals. I have some situations that we've experienced in the industry that we've run up against and that are going to bring out and highlight some problems that these people are able to solve. So I'm going to throw like one question each, and then I'm going to open the floor to your questions. Think about questions, no statements. I don't want anything that's so specific it doesn't relate to other people in the industry. So think about a solid question. And not too much explanation to get to the question. Are we clear about that? This is when the school teachers get a little prissy.
And right away, too.
Yeah.
I just was disappointed that I didn't have 3x5 cards to make you write them down. So anyway, we'll quickly go through. Did a little rebranding. I know a lot of people are in that phase too. We're working on the logo, revising the website, getting a little slicker. Slide number 1 talks about, there are 3 key roles you play in your small business. You are an entrepreneur, you're a manager, and you're a technician. These are the sorts of things that an entrepreneur has to look at. The vision and the passion. That's why most of you are here in this industry. You have some sort of idea about what you can bring to this market. The manager, that's about the people and the cash flow. Often in businesses, these roles are not the same person. Sometimes they're shared responsibilities. The technician is the person that executes, that fulfills and delivers the product you're creating and gets it to the marketplace. The 5 principal areas of responsibility, you can read that. I don't need to read it to you, but I think you need to understand these are all big, big responsibilities. And as a small business owner, the vast amount of information you have to process to get to those decision-making points on these topics can be daunting. It's just the same for you and Coca-Cola to make these choices. The problem is it's just you. So I encourage you to talk to other people in the industry, experts, reach out. All of us have some people that we can recommend to help with some of these things too.
Can I ask a question here?
Sure.
So how do the three roles map to the 5 principles? Is it the entrepreneur manage people, or the manager manage people, the entrepreneur steer the future?
I think that what I have found in practice is that it's a mix. And each company is going to have different people that are different strengths. You know, I have a client, producer, processor client where the financial and the business stuff is all one person who also does the sales and going out. But the vision and the branding and the marketing and the what are we going to do with the product is all the other partner.
So you're suggesting that this may not be 3 people, it's 3 roles?
No, it's 3
and that
roles.
within every organization you assign both who's playing those roles and who maps to those areas of responsibility.
And I just have lots of hats, because in my business it's me. And that's why I bring people in to help me with this stuff, because they need to make me smarter faster. I have 4 college degrees, you guys, and I still wrestle with this stuff. I need this guy, and I need all of these people. And, you know, like I said, if you're not nervous, I don't know. You may not be getting the whole idea of how hard what we're doing is. All right, moving on. Sorry, that was a little more fun, joy, sunshine I threw down there. All right, the new, oh, okay.
Is that where you want to go?
I don't know. Was there one in between there?
No?
I did this really late last night because I was busy doing your handout. Let's talk a little bit about making better decisions. See, I have my notes, but that relates to
You want
that.
to go this one?
No, it's fine.